The man who leaves quietly is the most dangerous. He doesn't scream, he doesn't fight, he simply moves. His silence is power, his absence felt. He respects himself enough to walk away, leaving others unprepared, unsettled, and humbled. Never underestimate the calm, the patient, the one who disappears without a trace. Silence is often misunderstood. People think it is weakness, a pause, a gap that needs filling, but real power lies in what is left unsaid. The man who understands the strength of silence knows that words are cheap and actions, quiet, deliberate, and unannounced, speak louder than any speech. When he chooses not to react, not to argue, not to prove himself, he exerts control in a way that noise never could. Silence becomes his weapon, his shield, and his strategy all at once. It disarms people, confuses them, and forces them to confront what truly matters. In a world obsessed with volume, attention, and instant reactions, silence is a rarity, and rarity breeds respect. Silence carries weight because it is intentional. It is not ignorance. It is not avoidance. It is calculation. The man who stays quiet while chaos unfolds around him is the one observing, learning, understanding, and preparing. Every word that does not escape his lips is energy saved, focused, and channeled. Every pause becomes a statement, a boundary, a line drawn without shouting. He doesn't need to justify himself because his presence or absence speaks for him. Silence is his signature, his mark on those around him, and often the louder the world gets, the more his quiet becomes dominant. People notice it, they feel it, and they never forget it. There is also a deeper intelligence to silence. It is the understanding that reactions are not always required. When someone provokes, insults, or tries to control, the instinct to respond is strong, almost animalistic. But the quiet man resists. He does not give power to those who do not deserve it. He chooses when, how, and if his voice will rise. This restraint is not fear, it is mastery, and mastery over oneself is the truest form of power. Those who rush to speak, to dominate conversations, to prove themselves, often reveal their weaknesses. The quiet man conceals his strength. He moves like water, unseen, unstoppable, leaving those who underestimated him to wonder where the force came from. Silence also creates mystery. People fear what they cannot fully understand. The man who leaves quietly, who watches without comment, who does not announce his victories or failures, becomes larger than life in the minds of others. His absence lingers longer than his presence ever could. His words, when they finally appear, are not wasted. They hit like a storm because they are rare, measured, and precise. Silence sharpens perception, magnifies influence, and allows control without confrontation. Silence is self-respect in action. It is a declaration that he does not need to fight for attention, validation, or approval. He knows his worth, and in knowing it, he does not seek to prove it. The power of silence is the power of a man who understands that his actions, his choices, and his inner strength speak more truth than any words ever could. In the quiet, he is dangerous, not because he seeks harm, but because his presence or the lack of it changes everything around him. The calm before the storm is not emptiness, it is preparation. It is the quiet, deliberate pause that signals a force ready to move, a strength that is waiting, not wasting energy on noise or distraction. The man who embodies this calm is not reckless. He is intentional. He watches, he observes, he measures every action, every word, every glance. While others rush, panic, or react, he remains steady, unshaken, and unexposed. That stillness is power. It is patience forged in understanding that the storm is not about fury. It is about timing, precision, and inevitability. In the world, people mistake activity for progress, chatter for strength, chaos for energy. But the calm before the storm shows that true strength does not announce itself. It grows quietly, unseen. while the untrained eye searches for signs that will never appear. The quiet man knows that when the time comes, he does not need to explain, justify, or beg for attention. His actions, swift and calculated, will speak louder than any words ever could. The storm is not sudden. It is the result of years of preparation, hidden in the calm, years of restraint, focus, and control. This calm is not just physical, it is emotional, mental, and spiritual. He does not allow anger, ego, or desperation to dictate his moves. He waits, he watches, he calculates. In moments when others would lash out, he chooses silence. When others would act impulsively, he chooses strategy. This is not weakness. It is mastery over oneself and over circumstances. Every person around him may feel comfortable, confident, even arrogant, unaware that the storm is already forming, that the man they underestimate is collecting every piece of knowledge, every opportunity, every advantage that will make his presence unstoppable when the time comes. The calm before the storm also teaches patience and timing. Many fail not because they lack power, but because they strike too early, too loud, or too visibly. The man who understands the storm knows that appearances can deceive, that waiting is not hesitation, it is control. He conserves energy, focuses on what matters, and releases his strength only when it will have maximum impact. The storm is not the chaos of noise. It is the precision of force released after silence, after stillness, after understanding. It is not about proving a point. It is about delivering the consequence that cannot be ignored. And there is a beauty in this calm too. It is a quiet confidence, a subtle warning, a magnetism that draws attention without demand. People are drawn to it, often without realizing why. They feel the presence of something powerful, something unstoppable, even before it manifests. And when the storm finally comes, it is not sudden, it is inevitable. The calm has been shaping it all along, preparing the world for the force that will change it. The calm before the storm is dangerous, not because it threatens recklessly, but because it conceals mastery, patience, and purpose. It is the mark of a man who does not need to shout, does not need approval, and does not need validation. He understands timing, control, and consequence. In the stillness, he is already moving, already winning, already unstoppable, and the storm he brings is only the natural outcome of what has quietly been building all along. Emotional detachment is often misunderstood as coldness or indifference, but in truth, it is strength. It is the art of seeing situations clearly without letting your heart dictate your every move. The man who masters emotional detachment does not react impulsively to every insult, every slight, every provocation. He feels, he notices, he understands, but he does not allow his emotions to control him. He knows that when you are consumed by reaction, you give away power. Detachment is not about avoiding life. It is about choosing how deeply you let it affect you, about walking through storms with clarity rather than chaos. A man with emotional detachment sees relationships, conflicts, and challenges for what they truly are. He understands that some battles are not meant to be fought, some words are not worth replying to, and some people are not meant to stay. He does not cling to pain, he does not chase approval, and he does not live for validation. He is free from the chains of expectation because he knows that allowing emotions to run unchecked is like letting someone else hold the reins to your life. By stepping back, by creating space, he maintains control over his actions, his mind, and his future. Detachment is also a form of self-respect. It is the recognition that your peace is more valuable than being right, that your dignity is stronger than proving yourself to someone who does not appreciate it. He does not need to argue to prove a point. He does not need to fight for recognition. He does not need to explain his worth. By detaching emotionally, he shields himself from the unnecessary chaos that comes from taking every hurt personally. His calm becomes a mirror that reflects the irrationality of others while he moves forward with precision and focus. This detachment does not make him unfeeling, it makes him strategic. He can love without losing himself. He can care without compromising his integrity. He can act without being blinded by anger or desperation. While others are lost in reaction, he remains deliberate, calculated, and unstoppable. He understands that life rewards those who can step back, see clearly, and choose their battles wisely. Emotional detachment is not an absence of heart. It is a mastery of it. It is the ability to hold your power, even when circumstances demand vulnerability. In addition, emotional detachment creates respect and fear. People often mistake sensitivity for weakness and aggression for strength. But the detached man does not show neediness or dependency. He shows stability, control, and unpredictability. His absence is felt more than his presence, his silence more than his words. Those who try to manipulate or provoke him discover that there is no leverage, no reaction, no chaos to exploit. And in that space, he becomes unstoppable, untouchable, and often misunderstood, but never overpowered. Emotional detachment is freedom. It is the understanding that life's storms are inevitable, but your reaction is optional. It is the strength to love, act, and exist without surrendering your power to anyone or anything. It is the wisdom to know when to engage and when to walk away. And the man who masters it is dangerous, not because he seeks conflict, but because he cannot be controlled. His focus is sharp, his mind is clear, and his path is unstoppable. In detachment, he discovers true strength, true influence, and the unshakable peace that comes from knowing he is in control of himself, always. Unseen influence is the quiet force that changes lives, shifts dynamics, and moves the world without ever announcing itself. It is subtle, invisible, and often underestimated. The man who wields unseen influence does not demand attention, does not seek applause, and does not need recognition. He understands that true power lies not in being noticed, but in leaving a mark that persists long after he has gone. His words may be few, his actions discreet, but the ripples he creates extend far beyond his immediate presence. While others are loud, visible, and desperate to impress, he operates quietly, shaping outcomes, altering perceptions, and influencing minds in ways that cannot be resisted or predicted. This type of influence is rooted in consistency and integrity. People notice patterns even when they do not realize it. The quiet man who remains true to his principles, who handles situations with calm precision, who acts from a place of clarity rather than impulse, leaves an impression that is deeper than any momentary spectacle. His influence is not flashy, it is enduring. It works silently, shaping opinions, inspiring action, and commanding respect without ever forcing it. People begin to follow his example without knowing why. They internalize his discipline, his patience, and his focus, often before they are even aware that they are being guided. Unseen influence also comes from presence, the kind of presence that is felt rather than heard, the calm, steady demeanor, the thoughtful pause, the subtle gestures, the decisions made with care. All of these communicate more than words ever could. It is influence that does not try to persuade or manipulate, but simply exists. And existence, when paired with purpose and mastery, is enough. People are drawn to it, inspired by it, and sometimes intimidated by it because it is authentic and unwavering. No noise, no drama, no force, just the quiet power of someone who has mastered himself and his environment. Another aspect of unseen influence is timing. The man who understands it knows when to step forward and when to step back. He knows that influence is often strongest when it is indirect. A word spoken at the right moment, a decision made in silence, an action observed but not explained. These are the tools of the unseen influencer. By allowing life to unfold and by choosing his interventions carefully, he multiplies the impact of every move. People may think they are making choices freely, but often those choices have been shaped subtly by his calm, strategic presence. Influence in its purest form is not about control. It is about shaping outcomes without ever appearing to try. The beauty of unseen influence is that it is impossible to resist completely. Those affected may not even recognize it until long after the fact. His ideas take root, his lessons linger, and his absence is felt as powerfully as his presence. In this way, influence becomes immortal, outlasting any confrontation, argument, or moment of visibility. And this is the danger and the brilliance of the quiet, calculated man. He changes the world around him without making a sound, and those who underestimate him are often the first to feel his impact. Unseen influence is the mark of mastery. It is a reminder that real power does not shout, it does not demand, it does not chase. It observes, it learns, and it acts with precision. And when the time is right, the world bends, not because he forced it to, but because his presence, patience, and understanding have quietly shaped it into alignment. Self-respect is the quiet fire that guides a man, while ego is the loud distraction that destroys him. A man who chooses self-respect over ego does not need to prove himself to anyone. He does not seek approval, validation, or applause. He does not argue to win, does not fight to dominate, and does not sacrifice his peace to satisfy the expectations of others. Self-respect is internal. It is knowing your worth without needing confirmation from the world. Ego, on the other hand, is external. It thrives on recognition, reaction, and attention. And the man who prioritizes respect over ego knows that power comes from inner alignment, not outward display. Choosing self-respect over ego means mastering restraint. It means walking away from conflicts that do not serve you, letting go of grudges that only weigh you down, and refusing to chase respect that should have been given freely. He understands that reacting to every slight, defending every opinion, and seeking recognition for every action only feeds the noise of the world. The man with self-respect knows that his dignity is his armor. When insulted, he does not strike back in haste. When betrayed, he does not lash out in anger. Instead, he moves with measured steps, maintaining his composure and preserving his power. Self-respect is also a declaration of boundaries. It is saying to the world, I will not lower myself to meet you. I will not compromise my peace for your satisfaction. While ego often forces men to bend, to argue, to insist on dominance, self-respect allows them to stand tall without confrontation. It is strength disguised as calm. It is power that does not seek attention but commands it naturally. People notice it, even if silently. Those who try to manipulate, control, or belittle discover that a man guided by self-respect cannot be coerced, cannot be intimidated, and cannot be shaken. Another dimension of self-respect over ego is emotional intelligence. A man who practices it does not let emotions rule him. He loves without neediness, he gives without expectation, and he acts without desperation. Ego reacts to every insult, every jealousy, every perceived slight. Self-respect absorbs, reflects, and transcends. It allows a man to move through the world without being weighed down by the trivial demands of others or the chaos of impulsive reaction. In choosing respect over ego, he cultivates clarity, focus, and influence. Self-respect also shapes relationships. Those who lead with ego push people away, constantly seeking validation, control, or dominance. The man who leads with self-respect attracts loyalty, admiration, and trust. People are drawn to him not because he demands it, but because he commands it silently. He shows them what is possible when strength is measured not by loudness, but by integrity, presence, and calm authority. Self-respect over ego is freedom. Freedom from the chains of approval, from the need to prove, from the exhaustion of unnecessary battles. It is the recognition that the only opinion that truly matters is your own, and that preserving your integrity is far more valuable than winning an argument or asserting dominance. A man who understands this is dangerous, not in a reckless or aggressive way, but because he is unshakable, focused, and unstoppable. His power lies in the quiet confidence of knowing his worth, and no ego can ever override that. Strategic awareness is the quiet intelligence that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It is the ability to see beyond the immediate moment, to understand the consequences of every action, and to anticipate the moves of others before they even think of them. The man who possesses strategic awareness does not act impulsively. He does not charge blindly into situations fueled by emotion or ego. He observes, he calculates, and he positions himself with precision. While the world reacts to events, he shapes them. His mind is always several steps ahead, and that is what makes him formidable. Being strategically aware means understanding that not every battle is yours to fight. It is the knowledge that sometimes walking away is the greatest victory, that patience can be more powerful than aggression, and that timing is as crucial as action. A man with strategy does not need to display force. He commands it silently. He knows when to speak and when to remain quiet, when to act and when to wait, when to advance and when to retreat. Every decision is deliberate, every move intentional. In a world driven by reaction and impulse, strategic awareness is the advantage that cannot be challenged. Strategic awareness is also about reading people. The man who masters it understands motivations, weaknesses, and desires. He recognizes patterns in behavior and uses that understanding to influence outcomes without confrontation. He knows who will fight, who will follow, and who will fade away. This awareness allows him to act with subtlety, achieving goals with efficiency, while leaving others confused, unprepared, and often unaware of the force that shaped the result. His influence is felt long before it is seen, and his presence changes the environment even in silence. Strategic awareness is rooted in self-mastery. A man who cannot control his impulses cannot anticipate consequences. A man who reacts to every insult, every temptation, every fleeting desire is at the mercy of circumstances. But the strategically aware man measures his emotions, evaluates his priorities, and aligns his actions with long-term vision. He does not chase temporary victories or short-lived recognition. He focuses on lasting impact, on outcomes that matter, on the bigger picture that most fail to see. This type of awareness also protects him from manipulation. While others are drawn into drama, provocation, and chaos, he stands apart, unaffected and untouchable. He understands the motives of those around him, and he knows when to act, when to remain neutral, and when to withdraw. His calculated decisions make him unpredictable, dangerous, and respected. People may underestimate him because he does not boast or demand attention, but his results speak louder than any words ever could. Strategic awareness is power in its purest form. It is the knowledge that every action carries weight, that every decision creates ripple effects, and that true influence is achieved through planning, patience, and precision. The man who embodies this awareness is not loud or aggressive. He is quiet, focused, and unstoppable. He moves through life like a force of nature, calculated, deliberate, and inevitable. And those who fail to recognize his strategy will always find themselves several steps behind, wondering how someone so calm and reserved achieved so much without seeming to try. Mystery is one of the most powerful forces a man can possess. It is the quiet aura that draws attention without effort, the unseen depth that leaves people curious, cautious, and ultimately respectful. The man who carries mystery does not reveal himself fully, does not explain his every action, and does not rush to satisfy the curiosity of others. He understands that respect is earned through restraint, not through exposure. When a man allows himself to remain partially unreadable, he becomes more than a person. He becomes an idea, a standard, a presence that lingers in the minds of those around him. Mystery sustains respect because people fear what they cannot fully understand. Those who are transparent in every moment, who lay themselves bare for judgment and critique, may gain sympathy or attention, but they rarely command lasting authority. The mysterious man, on the other hand, protects his inner world. He reveals only what is necessary, conceals what is powerful, and keeps his intentions, feelings, and plans close to his chest. This restraint creates an aura of unpredictability, and unpredictability naturally commands respect. People may try to analyze him, to predict him, to control him, but they will always find themselves a step behind, aware of the power he holds in his silence. Respect born of mystery is also respect that lasts. It is not superficial admiration that fades with time, nor is it granted by status or words. It is the quiet acknowledgement that some forces cannot be fully grasped, that some strength does not need to be displayed to be felt. The mysterious man does not need to assert his dominance, because his presence alone is enough to set boundaries and influence outcomes. Even in absence, he remains influential. His actions, though measured and few, leave a lasting impression, and his absence only amplifies the sense of significance that surrounds him. Mystery also protects him. By keeping certain truths, emotions, and intentions hidden, he shields himself from manipulation, exploitation, and unnecessary judgment. People cannot attack what they cannot define. They cannot control what they cannot predict. The mysterious man moves through life with clarity and confidence, making decisions based on insight rather than reaction. His detachment is not coldness, it is strategic preservation of power. In a world that often rewards exposure over substance, mystery is a rare and potent weapon. Mystery fuels fascination. People are naturally drawn to what they cannot fully understand. Curiosity makes them pay attention, anticipate his next move, and respect his boundaries. When he speaks, his words carry weight because they are selective, intentional, and measured. When he acts, his actions matter because they are deliberate, meaningful, and rare. Mystery transforms ordinary interactions into powerful statements, ordinary silence into authority, and ordinary presence into influence. In the end, mystery sustains respect because it creates a balance between closeness and distance, visibility and concealment, presence and absence. The man who masters it is never desperate to be liked, never dependent on approval, and never vulnerable to the chaos of expectation. His power is subtle, undeniable, and enduring. In mystery, he becomes untouchable, not because he hides from the world, but because he has learned the art of revealing only what strengthens him and concealing everything that could weaken him. And in that quiet mastery, respect is not asked for. It is demanded naturally and permanently. The most dangerous man is often the one who is underestimated. People mistake quiet for weakness, calm for fear, patience for passivity. But in reality, these are the hallmarks of strength. When someone underestimates a man, they give him the greatest advantage, invisibility. They fail to anticipate his moves, they overlook his preparation, and they dismiss his capability. And in that space, he grows, he plans, and he becomes unstoppable. Underestimation is not a misjudgment of ability. It is a gift, a weapon, and a test of patience. The danger lies in unpredictability. Those who are loud, reactive, and boastful reveal their intentions before they act. They announce their plans, display their emotions, and often exhaust their energy proving themselves. But the man who is underestimated watches. He observes, he learns, he calculates. Every word, every gesture, every silence is intentional. While others are consumed by reaction, he is collecting intelligence, forming strategy, and waiting for the perfect moment to act. And when that moment arrives, it is swift, precise, and often irreversible. The person who ignored him is left shocked, unprepared, and powerless, realizing too late that the quiet, unnoticed figure was the greatest threat all along. Being underestimated also allows him to move freely. People make assumptions, set limits, and place him in categories that do not reflect his true strength. They do not watch him closely because they believe he is harmless. And in that freedom, he expands his capabilities, hones his skills, and refines his mind. The underestimated man can take risks, make decisions, and act without interference. He has the space to grow while others squander energy, maintaining appearances, defending reputations, or fighting battles that do not matter. Underestimation also feeds confidence. When the world doubts him, he gains clarity. He does not need validation because he knows his worth. He does not compete for attention because he has already mastered himself, and the more he is dismissed, the more he prepares, until his eventual emergence carries the force of inevitability. People who underestimate him fail to see the depth of his patience, the breadth of his preparation, and the precision of his timing. They assume weakness where there is mastery, chaos where there is strategy, and absence where there is power. The danger of underestimation is magnified because it is invisible. The world rarely sees it coming. There is no warning, no announcement, no drama. The underestimated man does not need to fight for recognition or display dominance. He allows assumptions to guide others into complacency. And when he finally acts, the results are disproportionate to the effort they witnessed. What seemed like insignificance becomes undeniable force, leaving those who misjudged him questioning how they could have been so blind. Underestimation is a weapon that works best in silence. The man who understands it does not crave attention. He craves effectiveness. He knows that the world often misreads calm as weakness, patience as hesitation, and restraint as submission. But in reality, these are the markers of someone who has mastered himself, understood the game, and waited for the exact moment when his strength will be recognized, not as a threat, but as an unignorable truth. And that is why the underestimated man is by far the most dangerous of all. In the end, the man who leaves quietly, who masters silence, patience, and detachment, is not defined by noise or recognition. His power lies in restraint, in strategy, in the invisible influence he wields without announcing it. He commands respect because he understands himself, protects his peace, and acts with precision. He does not seek validation, and he does not need approval. He is dangerous not because he desires conflict, but because he cannot be controlled. Every step he takes, every choice he makes, and every absence he maintains leaves a mark that lingers far longer than words ever could. This is the strength of the quiet man, the one underestimated, unseen, and mysterious. And it is in this quiet mastery, in this careful, deliberate presence, that true power is revealed.